our greatest and most powerful asset. Note: this recording is posted under two different titles: Why Our Creativity and Our Creative Imagination is Important, and Our Greatest and Most Powerful Asset. This dual posting is done in hopes that it will improve the visibility of this discussion because of the importance of this topic relative to our creativity and the life we create. Relative to why our creativity and our creative imagination are important is that the journey of exploration into our creativity revealed, whether we realize it or not, is that our creativity and our creative imagination underlie all that we do and all that we are. It does so in a way that to most is unimaginable and may even be too much to be believed. But in fact, it is true, and the sooner one realizes it, the sooner they can take action to create a life that serves them and creates a life worth living. As to why it is our greatest and most powerful asset is that it needs to be realized that everything that exists that has not been created by what humans or Homo sapiens would call God, or not created by nature, started as a single thought in the mind of a single individual, all of it. Others then take the individual's thought and build on it, or from it, for whatever area is applicable, giving rise to what the humans who take this thought create. The question is, does what we take and use from the other really serves us? To address what serves us, it is essential we hold our creativity and that of any other sacred. It is to become aware of what we eat and digest and take into our being. Does what we hold within our being allow us to hold our creativity sacred and serve our truth? Do we keep what serves us and nourishes us and discards what is not useful? We each are incredibly unique, and all we experience is subjective. No one sees and experiences creation as we do. No one has our pain, no one has our joy. It is vital that we learn to discern what is true for us and serves our own being. Consider identical twins. They start with the same genetic makeup and usually the same environment, but each develops very differently as to how they respond to the experiences they have, and I might add, each incarnates with different dreams, inspiration, and liabilities. Everything goes back to a unique perception an individual had of themselves and of creation, and to that single thought and experience of that person gives rise to that thought residing and unfolding in the creation developed by the humans. To say a single thought can change the world is not an understatement. If we take what the individual says and it works for us, we say it's true and or expand and build upon their thought. But it is ultimately their thought and their perception that we make our own. For example, you and another individual could be standing at a river. The individual says, "I wonder if we could build a bridge here." And you say, "Interesting idea." Then you both contemplate it, and with some passion and energy behind that thought, a bridge gets built. This is true for everything. This includes everything, every spiritual tradition, every scientific tradition, every piece of music, art, or written book, all economic systems, all government systems, and anything that you can name created by human. It all started with a single thought within one individual. Yet, what needs to be realized, regardless of who thinks that thought, it is their finite mind observing and experiencing in some way an infinite universe. Any human mind will never know the vastness of what is possible and how it works. Collectively, combining our thoughts, we seem to get a more accurate description. But the collective is also flawed, for it too is limited by the collection of limited perceptions. So whatever we can come to believe about creation, it is somehow limited in its accuracy. One just needs to look at the development of physics over time and all the early theories about the physical that existed and were eventually discarded as inaccurate. But this is true for any field that seeks truth if we look carefully. The subject fields of observation grow in understanding over time, and the old ways are replaced by ways that are more effective. It is clear from the journey of exploration into our creativity, the human mind is incapable of contemplating the vastness and diversity of creation. In fact, relative to our creativity, it appears the human mind is limited in four ways. One way is that whatever we experience is subjective. As such, there is often no one or no reference to which we can refer to get a clear understanding of what we experienced. We often think another person has the same or very similar experience, but that may or may not be the case. This also leads to the second limitation of the human mind. Whatever we experience, the human mind interprets based on its past experiences. Often we have experiences where we do not have sufficient prior experiences to fully understand and comprehend what we are experiencing or experienced. The third limitation of the human mind is that the human mind is incapable of fully comprehending the vastness, diversity, and details of creation. It is limited to the particular view or experience it has in the given moment. The fourth limitation is the human mind is very narrowly focused and may reveal exquisite details about an aspect of creation, but is only an aspect of creation and one based solely on the particular view or perspective the mind had. The best our human mind can do is give an explanation that is created by our creative imagination, which is only an approximation to what it can come to understand based on the experiences it has had. Some approximations are better than others for a given understanding, and in some situation, the approximation is quite powerful, but it still will be in some way be incomplete. As we gain experience in how we see and how we choose to experience what is before us, our perspective will change based upon these new experiences. Also, often when we receive a perception about the unseen, our mind characterizes it as an analogy or something symbolic, for it cannot fully grasp what is seen or experienced. Mind does not have sufficient words and experiences to properly characterize it. This is also true for any truly creative endeavor, one that has not previously been seen or experienced, since our mind has not been there to know what to expect. What this boils down to is, as a human being, each of us are creating our own personal experience of reality. The process starts with an experience we have that originates in sensing an energy at some level of our being. If we are aware of what we are experiencing, it has a feeling. We then respond and react to what we feel based upon any reflex action, as in response to pain or any thought that may arise. Any thoughts that do arise are based upon our mind's characterization or interpretation of the energy we are experiencing. The characterization is based upon our past experiences, what we believe, what we think, and any interpretation we have in response to what we are experiencing. No matter how accurate we think we have characterized what we experience, in some way it is inaccurate. This also applies to what we experience as intuition, inner knowing, or something channeled or divine inspiration. This is why sometimes we get an intuitive insight, and when we act on it, it does not seem to be correct, but normally a clarification or further insight is provided. Whether we are aware of it or not, we experience reality as it is in the moment we are experiencing it. What we perceive in that moment and how we choose to respond in that moment is our choice. How we choose to respond in that moment may or may not change the reality we experience. Maybe the change in reality may not be immediate, but it can change. Here again, we need to remember a single thought and how we act on that thought can change the world we experience. Everything created by a human that changed how we live in the world started as a single, subjective, unique person's perception. A single thought can change the world. Is this too much to believe, or is it true? Two questions then arise. The first is, do we know what is true for us and serves who and what we think we are? That is, are we experiencing that present moment in a way that we are satisfied with life and are energized by life itself? How we are feeling does have a bearing on how we choose. Second question is, do we possess beliefs that empower us to create a life worth living, that enable us to access what we sense and feel, to access the depth and breadth of the creative power and creative ability available to us in that moment? Or do we somehow disempower ourselves and perceive ourselves as not up to the task which is being presented to us? The recommendation here is to hold your creativity and that of any other sacred as discussed in the creativity perspective. Do your own experiments to find out how much creative power and creative ability you have. Probably the biggest aspect of holding our creativity sacred is to have the possibility of exploring options where we are previously unable to explore options and choices. There is the need to continually seek to look past the mind's understanding, to look for where its understanding is incorrect. When I first accessed the understanding I received about our creative spirit and the perceived depth and breadth of the creative power and creative ability available to us, I continually looked to see where it was wrong, incorrect, inaccurate, or what is missing in what I understood. In general, my interpretation was not bad, but it was clear over time it was incomplete. Quite simply, I did not have all the necessary life experiences and minimum set of experiences to properly characterize all that I did receive. In many ways, I am thankful for what I posted on the web 25 years ago did not become popular. If it was popular, I would have been consumed in teaching and sharing it with others and addressing their questions rather than looking for the inaccuracies and refining the understanding. It's not that what would have been given or shared was wrong, rather it was not as complete as it could be. My hope is in some way you can benefit from what has been experienced and provided to you. You can do your own experiments and contemplate if what is provided here resonates with you and gives you something beneficial, realizing it is inaccurate in some way. In a similar way, for whatever you believe about your creativity, it is recommended you explore your creativity, not necessarily in the form of painting, writing, and other traditional ideas about creativity and what it is perceived to be, but rather, how much freedom do you have to explore any option in your life for any aspect of your life? For after all, the thought you may have may be the seed that changes the world. You are that powerful whether you realize it or not. Just don't become arrogant and realize your thought is as powerful as it may be, is probably incomplete or inaccurate in some way.